The war came without a warning. For 100 years, humans had kept peace with the Virelian Empire. Treaties were strong, trade was fair, and both species learned to live without fear. But all of that changed the night the stars blinked. Earth's space stations near the edge of the Voss sector suddenly went silent. No distress calls, no wreckage found. Only silence and darkness where lights once blinked. The Galaxy Union sent probes, then ships. None returned. Then came the message. A strange symbol burned into the surface of Mars' moon. It wasn't human. It wasn't Alari, but it spoke a single word in both languages. Return. No one understood it. That same night, an entire colony ship carrying over 30,000 humans vanished without a trace. By morning, Earth was under lockdown. Rumors spread fast. Some said a third race had awakened. Others said the Alari had betrayed the pact. No one knew the truth. Captain Elias Rain stood inside the war room of Earth's Orbital Defense Council, staring at the map projected in front of him. He was too young to be leading a diplomatic mission, but his success at the Velton peace accords made him the Council's favorite. Now they needed him again, but not for peace. This time, they needed someone who could walk into a trap. Smile. The Alari have gone silent, the council leader said. Not a word from their royal family. No explanation. No denial. Elias narrowed his eyes. That's not like them. They're too proud. If they wanted war, they'd announce it with fire. Unless, another general said, they're no longer in control. That single line froze the room. It was true. If someone else had taken over the Alari leadership, Earth could be facing an enemy far worse than they imagined. Elias didn't believe it. He had visited the Alari homeworld once. Their cities floated on light. Their people tall, elegant, shimmering with metallic skin held honor above all. They weren't just warriors. They were guardians of ancient oaths. And he had met the princess once. Not face to face, but through voice, across an encrypted line during a peace negotiation. Her name was Sarava. She was never seen by outsiders. Her face was hidden by custom. Only her true bondmate would ever see her face. Her voice, though, it stayed in Elias's memory. She had a calm, sad tone, always carrying a weight she never spoke of. Elias once asked why she always sounded so tired. She answered, because my people see only the past, never the future. But you're kind. You dream too loud. Now, with the galaxy falling into shadow, Elias remembered that voice more than ever. The council gave him a new mission. Go to the Alari homeworld, alone. No fleet, no weapons. Just a diplomatic badge and a coded message. If they trust you, the council said, they might speak to you. If they don't, you die. But at least we'll have our answer. Elias left Earth within the hour. As his ship crossed the stars, the silence grew louder. Space, once filled with chatter, trade, and travel, now felt like a graveyard. When he arrived near Alari Prime, the system looked dead. Satellites drifted. Light beacons were dark. No patrols, but one signal blinked. A single pulse in his translator. Come, he followed it. What he found was not a city but ruins. Burnt towers. Broken shields. The once floated palace of Valisir had crashed into the sea. The Alari capital was gone. And still, the signal guided him deeper. Eventually, he entered an underground temple, ancient, cold, built with crystal-like stone that glowed dimly. There were no guards, no voices. Just a single figure waiting in the center of a great chamber, covered head to toe in black silk and silver patterns. She did not move. You came, she said softly. Elias froze. That voice, it was her? Princess Sarava? Yes, she whispered, and no longer. She didn't lift her veil. She didn't step forward. Her voice echoed through the empty chamber like wind in a forgotten cave. My family is dead. My people scattered. A curse was released upon us, our own doing. A mistake we buried in the stars, now it has awakened. Elias tried to ask what it was, but she spoke over him. There is no time. I called you not for politics, not for peace. I called you for survival. He stepped closer, his heart racing. Then tell me how to help. She held out her hand, still covered. Bond. With me, Elias Rain, not for love, not for custom, but to awaken what sleeps inside me. He blinked. But I've never even seen your face. You must choose now, she said. Trust a voice or let the galaxy burn. And Elias reached forward. He didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know why. But somehow, deep down, he believed her. And that single touch would change the fate of every star. Elias didn't feel her skin, at least not the way he expected. It was like touching warm light, soft and weightless, but powerful. As soon as their hands met, the chamber pulsed. The floor under them lit up, lines of blue and gold racing across the ancient crystal. Sarava did not move. Her hands stayed in his, steady and still. But her voice changed. It has begun, she whispered. The bond is made. A sudden wave of heat washed over Elias, followed by a pressure inside his chest. Not pain, but something ancient. Like he had been connected to a deep river that was now pulling him in. Images flashed behind his eyes, strange symbols, battles he had never fought, memories that were not his. He fell to one knee. What is happening? He gasped. Sarava answered, You are seeing pieces of my past. The bond shares more than thought, it shares burden. Through blurred vision, Elias saw her raise her other hand. She still didn't lift the veil, but she held a small glowing sphere in her palm. This is the key, she said, to the vault of silence. He blinked, trying to focus. What vault? The place where my people buried what they feared most, the reason the stars are going dark. The word struck him. You mean the reason the colonies vanished? She gave a soft nod. Long ago, before your kind arrived in this galaxy, the Alari made war with a race called the CERN. They were not like us. Not like anyone. No face, no voice, just hunger and shadow. We defeated them, but not fully. We locked them away. Elias stood up slowly. You didn't destroy them? No, we couldn't. So we buried them and told no one. Not even our own children. Her voice cracked as she spoke. But something woke them. Elias felt cold. Why me? Why bond with me? She turned her head slightly, as if looking at him through the veil. Because your kind dreams too loud, and the CERN here dreams. He didn't fully understand, but he didn't need to. Her words, her fear, it was real. And she was alone. He saw now the bond wasn't just for power. It was her last act of hope. Suddenly, the chamber trembled. The glowing crystal walls flickered. They found us, she said. Elias grabbed her hand tighter. Then let's move. Sarava led him through a hidden path in the temple. As they ran, strange whispers echoed from the walls. Elias could feel something behind them. Something not living but aware. They escaped through a narrow tunnel that opened onto a ridge above the sunken city. The air smelled of salt and smoke. Above them, the sky was no longer dark. A massive tear had opened and the clouds black and pulsing like a wound in space. From it, long tendrils of shadow spilled downward. Sarava pointed. That's not the sky. That's them. Elias stared. How do we stop it? She looked at him. We can't, not yet. First, we must reach the vault of silence. Where is it? She paused. Inside the sun. He laughed once, but then saw her face under the veil tilt upward. She was serious. Wait, inside what? The Alari once built temples within stars, she said. We hid the vault inside one. It is the only place the CERN cannot touch. Elias felt his breath. Catch. That's suicide. No, it's destiny. And now, it's yours too. She took a step forward, but staggered. He caught her. You're hurt. No, just weak. The bond takes much. But now that it is complete, I can share it with you. What do you mean share what? She touched his chest. The light of? The ancients. It flows in both of us now. You are not just human anymore. Before Elias could respond, a distant scream tore through the air. Not from a voice but from the sky itself. The tear widened. Creatures began to pour out, black figures with limbs like glass and smoke. Elias pulled Sarava close. How do we fight them? We don't, she whispered. Not yet. Elias looked up at the enemy, then down at the woman whose face he still hadn't seen. He made a choice then. Not just to trust her, but to protect her. The galaxy had changed already. Now. So had he. Elias had seen war before, but nothing like this. The creatures falling from the tier in the sky didn't fly, they drifted like smoke with sharp edges. They had no eyes, no face, no mouths, yet they screamed with a sound that made the ground shake and the air go cold. One touched a tower below and the whole structure turned to dust. Run, Sarava said, gripping his hand tightly. The vault's key is bound to you now. If you fall, all hope is lost. Elias pulled her close and followed her steps down the slope of the broken city. They moved fast through the ruins, staying under fallen beams and shattered archways. Every few seconds, a flash of darkness would light the sky as one of the CERN creatures struck another part of the city. There was no one else left alive. As they reached an underground port, Sarava stopped. She pointed to a half-buried ship, its hull cracked and glowing faintly. That one still runs, she said. I can feel its core breathing. Elias nodded and helped clear debris from the entrance. The moment the hatch opened, the ship lit up inside. Old Alari technology responded to her touch like it had been waiting. Symbols lit the panels and a soft hum filled the air. It's voice locked to your family? Elias asked. To my blood, she said. And now to yours as well. He stared at her. What do you mean? She touched her chest lightly. The bond is deeper than just spirit. It ties our essence. You now carry a part of me and I carry a part of you. Elias didn't know what to say. He barely understood what was happening. He had only met this veiled woman hours ago, and now he felt like a part of his soul had been rewired. His thoughts were no longer only his. When he looked at her, he felt Echo's faint emotions, feelings that weren't his, but hers. Sadness, strength, fear, and something else. Something ancient and locked away. They took off quickly, the ship rising through the city's broken dome and soaring into the sky. As they passed the edge of the clouds, they saw the full horror. The black tear had widened. The CERN were spreading like a disease across the planet's surface. They feed on energy, Sarava said softly, on memory, light, and life. They leave nothing behind. How do they know where to go? Elias asked. They follow dreams, she whispered. That's how they found us. Someone woke them by dreaming of the past. The Alari's past? No, my past. The room fell silent. Elias turned toward her, stunned. You? He said. You caused this? She didn't answer right. Away. The ship's engines carried them into orbit as the planet shrank behind them. My family buried the truth, she finally said. But I searched for it. I needed to know what we had done. I opened memories that should have stayed sealed. I called to the vault through dreams, and the CERN heard me. Elias sat down, feeling the weight of her words. So you didn't mean to bring them? No, she said, voice trembling. But I did. Elias looked at her veiled face. He could hear pain in every word. He wanted to comfort her, but he didn't know how. So now what? He asked. We go to the sun, she replied. To the temple we built inside it. It holds the only weapon strong enough to fight the CERN. A weapon? No, she said. A choice. The words made no sense to him, but before he could ask more, alarms sounded in the ship. The tier in space was expanding, chasing them. Somehow, the CERN had sensed her leaving. We must enter the solar gate, Sarava said quickly, activating the controls. Now. The ship turned sharply, heading toward a bright star in the distance. It looked peaceful, glowing with golden heat, but Elias knew that deep inside, it hid something powerful. The temple. As they neared the outer rim of the star, the ship didn't slow down. It dove straight in. Elias braced himself, but the ship's shields held. They passed through layers of burning light and then suddenly, calm. They were inside. In the center of the star was a space unlike anything Elias had ever seen. Floating platforms, glowing bridges, massive spires made of pure crystal. And at the heart of it all, an enormous sphere of swirling light locked in chains of gold and black. Sarava stepped forward. That, she said, pointing, is the Vault of Silence? Elias felt something stir inside his chest. A pull, like the sphere already knew he had come. And as the ship landed, Sarava turned toward him. If we open it, we don't just awaken a weapon, she said. We awaken what the Alari feared. More than the CERN. Elias swallowed hard. And what's that? Sarava's voice went quiet. The truth. Elias stepped out of the ship and onto the glowing platform. The heat of the stars should have burned him alive, but the vault's temple kept them safe. Ancient energy pulsed under his boots. The entire place felt alive, like a beating heart buried in fire. Sarava walked beside him, still veiled, her long, dark robes flowing like shadows. The bond between them was stronger now. He didn't just feel her emotions, he felt her fear. She stared at the giant sphere of light chained in the middle of the star. Its surface shimmered with colors he couldn't name. Inside it, something moved. Slow, heavy, and ancient. What exactly is in there? Elias asked. Sarava's voice was quiet. Not a creature, not a god. A memory. A sealed piece of history, too dangerous to speak aloud. He frowned. You said it's the only thing that can stop the CERN, she nodded. Because the truth inside it will break everything. Elias stepped closer to the vault. The chains wrapped around it vibrated as if reacting to his presence. A soft whisper echoed through the chamber, not words, but emotion, regret, pain, loss. He turned back to Sarava. You're afraid of what I'll learn. Yes, she said. But I'm more afraid of what happens if you don't. The moment he placed his hand on the vault, light exploded around him. His mind was pulled into the sphere like a star, collapsing. He saw flashes, memories not his own. An Alari, warship firing into darkness, screaming voices swallowed by silence. And then, something horrifying. A human face, his own, standing beside ancient Alari rulers. He staggered back. What was that? I saw myself. Sarava lowered her head. That's the truth the Alari buried. The CERN didn't come from nothing. They came from a mistake. A mistake? Thousands of years ago, our ancestors created them. Not as enemies, but as protectors. Elias stared at her in disbelief. They were meant to guard our dreams, she explained. To stop thoughts of violence from spreading. But the CERN evolved. They learned to feed on thought, on fear, on memory. Elias gritted his teeth. So the Alari created their own destroyers. Yes, she whispered. And then we locked them away. And erased all records. even from our children. He took a step back, his hands shaking. And where do humans fit into this? Sarava hesitated. The early experiments were not done alone. Your kind helped us before history forgot. Elias's heart pounded. That's impossible. Your blood remembers, she said. That's why you're here. That's why the bond worked. You were always part of this. Elias wanted to deny it, but deep down something in him knew. A strange feeling that had followed him since the day he joined the diplomatic corps. A pull toward the stars. Toward something ancient. It wasn't just fate. It was design. The vault pulsed again, reacting to the truth now awakened in Elias. The chains cracked. Wait, Sarava said. If we open it fully, the galaxy will know. Every race, every planet. The truth will spread like fire. No one will be able to lie anymore. He looked at her, eyes hard. And if we don't? She turned to the star's edge, where the tear in space had begun to breach the temples. Barrier. Shadows pressed against the walls of light. The CERN will erase us all. Elias faced the vault. His mind raced. If he broke the last seal, everything would change. Governments could fall. Wars could begin, but maybe, just maybe, it could save them. He placed both hands on the vault. I didn't come this far to run. The chains shattered with a sound like thunder underwater. The vault split open and light poured out like a flood. Not just light, but memories, truth, ancient knowledge that filled Elias's mind and burned into his bones. He didn't scream. He couldn't. His voice had been taken by something deeper. A voice, not his own, but part of him spoke from the vault. You are the final bond, the keeper of balance, the human dreamer, the forgotten spark. Elias dropped to his knees. The light faded, the vault was gone. In its place stood a floating shape, a sphere of glowing fire, silent and watching. Sarava knelt beside him. It has chosen you. He looked at her. Chosen me for what? She touched his hand gently. To do what no Alari could. To forgive the past and fight the future. Above them, the sky cracked open. The CERN had found them. And now Elias was ready. The light from the vault still burned in Elias's chest. Not like fire, but like a sun made of memory and truth. Every breath he took felt heavier. He saw things even with his eyes closed, flashes of ancient battles, secrets buried in time, faces of people long dead. But it was more than knowledge. It was power. Power that didn't destroy but revealed. He turned to Sarava, who stood beside him, her veil now glowing faintly from the energy surrounding them. She looked weaker than before, her posture shaking. You shared your strength with me, he said quietly. She nodded. And now it's returning to you through the vault. Outside the temple walls, the CERN attacked. Their dark tendrils smashed against the glowing barriers of the solar temple, breaking pieces of light with every strike. The temple groaned, trying to hold, but it wouldn't last. We have to leave, Elias said. Sarava didn't move. She stared at the vault's remains, the sphere of fire still floating in the air, watching them without eyes. We cannot run, she said. It followed you. It awakened for you. That means you must speak to it. Elias stepped forward. How? Sarava raised her arm, pointing at the sphere. Ask it the question no Alari dared to ask. Elias stood still for a moment. He remembered what the vault showed him. The creation of the CERN, the betrayal, the erased history, the lies. Then he looked at the thing that watched him from within the light. His voice was steady. Why was I chosen? The sphere pulsed once and answered not in words, but through feeling. You were chosen because you have no past here. You are not blind like the Alari, who forget nothing and forgive even less. You are human, and humans change. Elias blinked. His heart pounded harder. Sarava stepped beside him again, barely standing. It sees your kind as the future, not because you are perfect, but because you learn. Suddenly, a loud crack tore through the temple. A breach. The CERN had broken through the outer wall. Shadows poured inside, crawling across the glowing floor. The creatures moved fast like broken glass held together by smoke, and they were coming straight for Sarava. Elias ran between her and the monsters. Without thinking, he lifted his hand and light burst from his skin. Not fire, not laser, just pure light that stopped the creatures mid-charge. They froze, twisted, and screamed. "What did I just do?" he asked, stunned. Sarava smiled weakly. "The vault didn't just show you truth. It gave you the power to carry it." Elias looked at the wall of CERN, trying to push forward. "I don't think I can stop all of them." "You don't have to," she whispered. "You only need to reach the beacon." "What beacon?" Sarava pointed at the highest spire in the temple, nearly touching the burning roof of the star. "There. If you bring the vault's light into the beacon, the message will spread. Every race will remember what was buried. The truth will burn across the stars." Elias helped her to her feet. "And the CERN? They cannot live where truth is known. Lies are their food. Secrets are their shadows." He didn't fully understand, but it didn't matter. He had to move. As the CERN screamed again and more poured in, Elias grabbed Sarava's hand. The two of them ran up the spiral stairs toward the beacon. The steps were narrow, made of floating light, but they held beneath them. Halfway up, Sarava stumbled. He caught her again. She was burning with fever. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "The bond takes more than I thought. I'm not strong enough to finish this." Elias held her tighter. "Then lean on me. I'll carry both of us," and he did. Step by step, with fire at his back and truth in his hands, Elias climbed to the peak. The CERN roared below, but they could not fly. They could only crawl, only whisper, but he would not listen. At the top stood a golden altar, smooth, simple, waiting. Elias placed his hand on it. The light from the vault flowed into the beacon like water into a well, and then everything changed. The star pulsed. The temple shook, and a blast of light shot out of the beacon, through the sun, across the sky. It went faster than sound, faster than light, across the stars, across every planet, every ship, every mind. Images filled the galaxy, truths once buried. The creation of the CERN, the Alari's mistake, and Elias's face standing where no one else dared to go. He looked down at Sarava, still lying near the top of the spire, her breathing weak. He knelt beside her. "You did it," she whispered. "No," he said. "We did." She touched his chest softly. "Now, the galaxy will change." And for the first time, Elias thought he saw her smile behind the veil. The beacon's light moved faster than thought. In just moments, the truth burned across the galaxy like a sunrise. On distant worlds, leaders froze as images appeared in the sky. Memories once buried, now shown to all. The CERN were no longer a secret. Every species now saw how the Alari created them. They saw the vault. They saw Elias, a human, standing inside a star, carrying ancient power and bonding with the last princess of a fallen empire. Some watched in fear, some in awe, others in rage. Back in the Sun Temple, silence fell. The CERN had stopped, as if confused. They drifted like broken shadows, no longer screaming, no longer attacking. Elias sat next to Sarava at the top of the spire. The glow from the beacon lit her skin, pale under the veil, her body shaking. She was getting worse. "You need help," Elias said. "We have to get out of here." Sarava slowly turned her head toward him. Her voice was softer now, fragile. "There is no help for me. The bond was too much." He clenched his fists. "No, I won't accept that. You saved the galaxy. We'll find a way. But she smiled gently beneath the veil. I was never meant to live past this. I was a key to the vault. My life was already borrowed. Elias felt something break inside. He didn't want her to be another lost name in history. He didn't want this story to end in sadness. We'll go back to Earth, he said, to my people. Our doctors. She reached up and touched his cheek, stopping him. Her hand trembled, but her touch was warm. Do you remember the first thing I told you? She asked. He nodded slowly. You said my kind dreams too loud. She gave a small laugh. And now, I see why. You refuse to give up, even when all light fades. Her hand fell away. You should see my face, she whispered. Elias blinked. What? Our bond is real. You should see who you saved. Slowly, her hand reached up to her veil. For a moment, he saw hesitation. Maybe even fear. But then, she pulled it back. Elias didn't move. He didn't blink. She wasn't what he expected, and she was more than he could have imagined. Her skin shimmered like silver under sunlight, with traces of violet glowing beneath. Her eyes were not just eyes, they were galaxies, full of time and sorrow, and yet so full of peace. You're beautiful, he said without thinking. She smiled. Now I know the bond is true. He touched her face gently. The truth between them needed no more words. He didn't save her because she was a princess. He didn't fight for her because she was royalty. He did it because she believed in him when no one else did. And now she was dying. Elias stood up, heart burning. The light from the beacon still glowed in his chest. The vault had changed him body and soul. Maybe there was one thing he hadn't tried. He turned to the beacon again, placed both hands on its golden surface. What are you doing? Sarava asked faintly. I'm giving it back, he said. The light, the power. If it came from truth, then maybe it can save you too. The beacon didn't respond at first. Then it pulsed once, twice, then brighter. A current of energy rushed through Elias's arms, through his chest, through his mind. It felt like he was tearing in half. The pain was deep, but he didn't stop. He focused everything on Sarava, her face, her voice, her courage. And then, light exploded from the beacon again, but this time it wrapped around her. Sarava gasped as her body lifted slightly from the floor. Her eyes opened wide as energy flowed into her chest. Her skin lit up from within, glowing like a second star. Elias fell back, exhausted, his vision blurred. When it cleared, Sarava was breathing calmly. Her eyes blinked slowly, but she looked alive. Her strength was returning. You fool, she whispered. You gave up your power. Elias smiled through the pain. Just gave it back to where it belonged. She sat up. You should be dead, he chuckled weakly. Maybe I'm too human for that. And for the first time, Sarava laughed a real laugh, soft and warm. But their moment didn't last. A signal came through the ship's comms, an emergency message. Earth command to Elias Rain. The CERN have changed. They are gathering. They are not fleeing. They're moving toward one place, toward you. Sarava stood, veil forgotten, her eyes full of warning. They're coming for the beacon. Elias slowly stood as well, body aching, but heart steady. Then we meet them here. Sarava walked to his side. Together? Always, he said. Outside, the star burned brighter. And far across the galaxy, the final storm began to rise. They stood side by side at the top of the beacon spire. Elias Rain, a human who once knew nothing of the stars, and Sarava, the last veiled princess of the Alari, now unveiled, reborn in the light. Below them, the golden platform shook as the temple's barrier weakened. In the distance, the CERN swarmed like a black tide, pouring through space from every direction, drawn not by hunger now, but by fear. The beacon's truth had wounded them. Their silence had been broken. The galaxy no longer feared the shadows. But the CERN were not finished. They were coming to erase the light. Elias looked at Sarava. Her strength had returned, but only partly. The energy he gave her had saved her life, but cost him the vault's full power. "I can't stop them alone," he said. Sarava looked into the heart of the star. "Neither can I." He looked at the beacon. It still pulsed, steady and calm, as if waiting. And then Elias understood. "It was never meant for one person," he said quietly. "It was meant for all." She turned to him. "The bond? It can be shared." "Yes," he said. "If I could give my light to you, maybe we can give it to everyone." Sarava nodded slowly, eyes wide. "We call to them. Across the stars. We share the truth and the power to fight." Elias reached out his hand. Together, she placed hers into his. Light moved between them again, not as pain, but as warmth, as unity. The beacon rose higher, glowing so brightly now that even the shadows paused outside the barrier. Then it began. The beacon burst with light, not just upward, but outward, spreading in every direction like a wave through the sun itself. Across the galaxy, every person human, Alari, and all others felt it. They didn't see words. They saw memories, regret, hope, truth. They felt the bond. And for the first time in history, people didn't just understand one another. They felt one another. Species who had warred for centuries stopped. Fleets in mid-battle turned away. Even rebels and tyrants paused, staring at the sky with tearful eyes, because now they knew they had all come from the same story. Fear, mistakes, silence, and the chance to choose something better. The CERN screamed as the light reached them. Their forms twisted, cracked, and began to fall apart, not from weapons, but from truth. Lies could no longer feed them. Darkness no longer ruled. And as the wave passed through space, they faded like smoke in sunlight. Elias collapsed at the beacon's edge, breathing hard. He was pale, his strength nearly gone. Sarava knelt beside him, holding his hand. "It's done," she whispered. He smiled faintly. "Is it?" "Yes," she said, looking up. "The CERN are gone." Ships from every planet began arriving, flooding the star's orbit. Some came to witness, others came to kneel. But all came because of what had been shared, because of what Elias, Rain, and Sarava had awakened. He looked at her, eyes dim. "Promise me you'll keep the light alive." Tears filled her glowing eyes. "I swear it." His fingers loosened in hers. But then something happened. The beacon pulsed again, softer this time. A circle of light surrounded them both. Elias's chest rose with new breath. His skin glowed faintly once more. Sarava gasped. "It's returning. It's healing you." Elias blinked. "Why?" The beacon spoke, one last time, not with sound, but through feeling. "Because truth does not die. It lives in those who carry it." He sat up slowly, stronger than before. The galaxy watched in silence as the human who bonded without sight stood again. Sarava smiled. "No one ever dared to bond without seeing my face," she whispered. He looked into her eyes. "Then maybe it's time the galaxy learned to see without fear." And in that moment, with the stars burning quiet above them and the shadows gone, the first chapter of a new galaxy began, not ruled by war or lies, but by a bond, forged in fire, sealed in trust, carried by a human and loved by an alien princess whose face would never again need to be hidden.